Welcome to the Legalpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Sager, founder and CEO of Legalpreneur Inc. As a serial entrepreneur and someone that works exclusively with small business owners legally protecting their business, I'm dedicated to covering common legal issues faced by business owners, providing you with the business knowledge you need to catapult your business's growth and showing you just how some of the world's most elite entrepreneurs have handled these legal and business issues themselves. In true attorney fashion, the information in this episode is not legal advice. This is for informational purposes only, and you should always consult with your attorney before implementing any of the information in the show. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Legalpreneur Podcast. I have a very special guest today, Ivanov. He is a life insurance agent, which is not somebody that I've ever had on the podcast before. So I'm really excited for him to share what he does with you and how it can actually be used to your advantage now. So Ivan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Andrea. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so go ahead, get started. Tell us how you got to where you are today in your business.
So actually, it's a long story. I'm going to try to keep that as short as possible. I don't want to bore anyone, but essentially I came to the States back in 2006 for the first time. I'm originally from Eastern Europe, Bulgaria. And when I came, it was, obviously a hard journey to start over. I was 21 at the time. I was working in a restaurant, and this was my journey for a long, long time. And then I decided that actually there is a better way to do things, better way to, to build wealth and start a business. I figured out that working for the rest of my life is not something that I want to do. At the time, I was already in sales, the car dealership. So I quit that and started an online business, which unfortunately failed because of my lack of experience running business and a lot of other things. But my failing business actually pushed me into the stock market, and I started investing, learning about investing in myself and my knowledge. And I was looking for ways to diversify my investment, to do something else where I can help people get started easily. And that's where when I found life insurance and cash value life insurance, to be specific, and use that to help people get out of debt, help people build safe retirement, and help people plan their estate properly. So to make sure that whatever they work hard for goes to their family tax-free and as easy as possible.
Nice. So yeah, let's dive into that. How exactly does that work? Because I mean I've heard of life insurance and I've kind of heard like yeah, maybe you can get some cash back, but I'm just curious like how exactly does it work?
So it's actually very interesting when I first bump into it, and a lot of my clients nowadays, when when they hear for it, they're like, "Oh my God, I wish I knew about this earlier." But essentially, when people think of life insurance, they think of debt, right? And this is unfortunate because obviously this was the case back in the 70s and 80s when life insurance was getting more popular. But nowadays, actually, a lot of life insurance policies offer ways to build wealth. And the way it works is, you know, how the rich people usually, when they earn money through their businesses or through their job, what they do is they take it and invest into an asset, and that asset starts generating cash flow. And what happens is they take that money and then spend it on whatever they want. Versus most of the average people, what they do is they earn money at their job, they go ahead and spend it. And by skipping that extra step of investing it first, you actually um, making a mistake, so to speak, because by investing the money first, you create that cash flow that's going to last you for a lifetime. And essentially, the life insurance is able to provide you that by two ways. There's a couple different ways. I'm not going to go too deep into it because, again, I don't want to take this too long. I can talk about it for like hours and hours. But
Yeah,
essentially, you
no,
have two
go for
ways.
it.
One of it is participation whole life coverage, which essentially pays dividends, just like a dividend stock. The only difference is that you're not invested in the stock market. So what happens is you invest into you put your money into a life insurance policy, which starts building cash value. And whenever the company is profitable, actually pays you dividends based on their profits, because those companies that do that are actually non-profit companies. So all their profits go into their members, so to speak. The other way to do it is through index universal life policies, which are actually linked to the market. But again, you don't have exposure to the downside of the market. You only capture a portion of the upside of the market and get percentage based off that. For example, let's say if the S&P does 15%, you're most likely capped at 11, 12%. So you get your 12% return and you move on. However, whenever the S&P is the Standard & Poor index, for those of you that don't know, kind of measures the 500 biggest companies in the world. So essentially when the S&P goes negative, for example, it goes minus 40%, you don't lose anything because you're protected on the downside. So you usually gain very little, 0.25 to 1.25%, but you still gain some. So that whole thing allows you to be exposed to the profits of the market or dividends, and then at the same time be protected on the downside, so you can never lose money. And the only cost associated with that is actually the cost of the life insurance itself, which if the agent knows what they're doing, they're going to try to keep that as low as possible. And there is actually a tax code 7702 that allows us to grow our money inside our policy tax-free, just like you do that in a Roth IRA, for example. So all the growth that you capture is tax-free as soon as you keep the policy active. And I was fascinated by that. Essentially, the way I use it to help people get out of debt is very interesting. So essentially, most of the people, what they do is, let's say you have credit cards, you have mortgage, you have all that stuff, and you earn income through your job. You take that money and pay it to pay off the debt, right? That's what most people do. Here, what we do is actually I take that money, help you establish a policy that will cash flow for you and generate that extra cash. And the extra money you put in towards, let's say, your mortgage or credit cards, instead of putting it towards paying off that, you put it in the cash value life insurance. And as soon as you build enough value into that to pay off the debt, let's say, for example, you have a $1,500 credit card, right? So you put $500 a month extra into that life insurance instead of paying off the credit card right away. As soon as you accumulate $1,500 in the life insurance, you take it and pay off the credit card. And the reason we do that is because even though you took the money out of the policy itself, it's a loan, which is tax-free, first of all. Second of all, since the policy is participating, what that means is that you still earn dividends or interest, like the money is still in the policy, even though you took it out and you pay off your debt. So that helps you kind of over time build that extra cash and extra, let's say, for example, 10 years down the road, you have 100,000 into that policy. You take 50K, buy a house, put it for down payment on the house, and you still earn dividends like you have 100,000 in there. So that's kind of the biggest benefit of it.
Is there a certain time or event where you can only get a loan from that policy or take money from the policy, or you can do it at any time?
You can do it at any time. As soon as you have enough cash value accumulated in the policy, you can actually take it out whenever you want. There is no credit check. There is no stipulation or anything like that. You just fill out a form, fax it or email it to the company, and the money is in your checking account within usually 5 to 7 business days. Pretty quick and pretty easy.
Wow. And so I know you also talk about estate planning. How do you like to educate your audience on how like this can help with estate planning as well?
So essentially, a lot of people don't realize that, and now, even now, with the internet and things are becoming easier and easier to access, information is easier and easier to access, people are still surprisingly uneducated on that topic. Like here comes your role, with establishing a will, establishing a trust, and all that stuff. So to make sure whenever, unfortunately, we all pass, right? Everybody dies at some point, and as sad as it sounds, it's true. I've personally experienced loss in my life, and that's one of the reasons I'm into this business. But essentially what happens is you don't leave a will, you don't leave a trust, and all your estate goes into court. And the court decides, probate court decides, okay, who are your people that are going to take that, and that takes time, and usually takes a couple months, sometimes even longer than that if it's more complicated situation. And this is the time when your family and your parents or kids need money the most, because when they lose your income, when they lose that extra portion of money that's coming into them, into the household, the bills don't go away. You still have your mortgage, you still have other things to pay. And by you having that life insurance in force, usually your family receives the money right away. If you have a trust established, it's so much easier. For example, your kids are under 18 and you pass. What happens is the money again gets held into that whole case that can drag for months and months and months. Versus if you just have one simple trust that tells, okay, my kids are going to get that money and they're going to get that much a month, it's just so much easier and kind of like helps the family recover quicker, so to speak. Because the worst thing for somebody is to be broken at the same time. Like you lose somebody, you need time to grieve and recover, and at the same time you don't have money to pay for your bills. So that's the situation I try to help people with the most, besides, as you mentioned, paying off debt and building that wealth as easy as seamless as possible.
And that's something I'm trying to take care of right now because I'm now divorced. I have 2 kids. So it's like, oh, if something happens to me, like the kids really are on their own. So these are things that I'm getting taken care of now because, yeah, they need to be taken care of if something ever happens to me. And it's scary. Yeah, it's important. It's scary to think about. But at the same time, you want to make sure they're taken care of. So yeah, I think this is a really big topic to be covering.
Yeah, exactly. And as you mentioned, people don't like to think about that. Nobody likes to think, oh, okay, I'm going to die one day, but you never know when it's going to happen. And when it happens, it's so much easier to be prepared. You don't want to be laying in your last 10 minutes of your life and thinking about, oh my God, how is my family going to pay the bills? That's one of the things that you don't want to do. And again, that's not a solution for all of it. Obviously there's other ways to invest. I personally invest in real estate, in the stock market, in crypto. It just kind of like an overall piece that covers your portfolio and brings you security, so.
Yeah. So how many people do you think, how many families do you think you've helped with the cash out life insurance?
Quite a bit, actually. I've been doing this for not too long, actually, probably a little over a year. But my social media, I'm the investor. That's where I promote my business, and that's where I kind of try to spread the word. And I know just don't do it just to get clients. When I started this, I actually started doing it so I can help people be aware of it. Because you might not be ready today to, okay, I'm not ready to start putting extra 200 or 300 or 500 bucks a month towards something that's gonna, of course, appreciate in value over time. But at the end of the day, when you're aware of something like that exists, makes you think, okay, hey, I really need to take care of that. You have it on the back of your mind, and you just, you're aware that it exists. Most of the people are not, unfortunately, which is kind of sad, but that's the reason I started my social media to begin with.
So what legal protections, if any, have you taken in your business? Do you have an entity? Do you have any of the legal stuff done? If not, that's okay too. I just like to also bring that to light for the audience.
No, it's very, very important. Actually, I have a story to tell you about this. My wife, she's also an entrepreneur. She also has a business. She owns a makeup academy here in Vegas. Glam Sophisticated is the name of it, if you guys want to check it out. But she started a different business about 6 years ago, which was supposed to be like a kind of like a Uber for makeup, where you can go in, or more for beauty. So you go on the app, you can get yourself a hairstylist, makeup artist, whatever you need as far as like a beauty, and they come to you and do the job, which was an amazing idea. And I believe it had a lot of potential in it. But what happened is she partnered up with the wrong partner, We didn't seek legal to establish contracts and stuff like that. We just did it, okay, hey, we're friends, we're gonna do it. And we started the business. A year down the road, after we invested, $15, $20, $30,000 in it, the partner was like, okay, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna buy you out of the business, this and that. So we agreed to it, right? But the problem is she never paid the money. She never paid the money. We went to court. We were broke at the time, so we didn't really have much money to seek legal help. And what happened is we lost the case, and we lost that close to $30,000, I believe. And this could have been simply solved with having proper contracts, seeking legal help, and all that stuff. But again, we live, we learn, and that kind of like taught me to do my due diligence on that, so to speak. So now I have a properly established LLC with all the contracts, with all the legal things. More about it than me, I'm sure. But just want to make sure that everything is established properly. I have protection. I have my insurance that protects me from liability and stuff like that. Because we're all humans. We all make mistakes, and we want to make sure to take care of that and be proactive about it instead of just waiting for it to happen and be like, oh my God, what do I do now? So very, very important what you do. And I really appreciate people like you and having you around, so I can always seek advice when I need it.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it. And that honestly, like it does, obviously it sucks that happened and it's an expensive mistake, but also at the same time, it's like, okay, at the same time, we got to be grateful that it wasn't more money, because I've seen it all, and it's relative. Like, I know, like, when you're broke, like, that's the end of the world, like, that's all your money, but it could have been a lot worse. So even though it sucks, still grateful that it wasn't worse. Thank you for this. So one thing I like to ask all the guests is for your number one business tip. So it doesn't have to be legal related, life insurance related, like anything. Like if somebody came up to you off the road and was like, hey man, I need just your number one tip for me in business, what is it?
Don't be afraid to invest. A lot of people, when we go from a regular job, when the income is steady and we're used to getting a paycheck no matter what, as soon as you show up, you get that money in, we go into business and we're like, oh my God, I'm going to be the jack of all trades, right? I'm going to do everything by myself. I'm not going to pay nobody to do anything for me. I'm just going to do the research, learn how to do it. And I did that myself too, and my wife as well. She was running her business as a one-man show for a long time. And you get to the point where you start spinning wheels. So invest in your knowledge, invest in people that can help you, invest in building a team, invest in legal help, invest in all that stuff. Just don't be afraid to spend the money, because the money is going to go out there, multiply, and come back to you. Yep, absolutely. If you never spend it, what's going to happen is you're just going to try to do things by yourself, and you can never be professional, let's say marketing professional or ads professional or legal professional. Yeah, you can read on the internet, but it's not like somebody who does that for a living. They do it every day, and they breathe in, breathe out. That's how they wake up in the morning. That's how they go to bed at night. So invest in that. It's going to pay off. I promise you. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you? If they want to look into life insurance, how do they get in touch with you? The easiest way actually is my social media. You can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, and Facebook, Twitter. Just type in Ivan the Investor. I'm going to send me a message. I'll get back to you. Or just give me a call. My cell phone is 562-846-5046. Unless I'm in a meeting, I'll take the call most of the time, or just shoot me a text. It might take me a few hours or even a day to get back to you, but I always get back to people that reach out to us. Here at Legalpreneur, we're committed to providing a supportive legal community for all business owners. I know how scary the legal stuff can be. If you found this information helpful, I would be so grateful if you could share it with a fellow business owner. And quite frankly, it doesn't cost anything to rate, review, or subscribe to the show. Your support helps me reach more listeners, which allows me to support more business owners in their entrepreneurial journey.
have any questions or comments about the show, feel free to drop me a line on Instagram. I promise I read all of the messages and comments. And if you want to be a guest on the show or know someone that would make a great guest, simply fill out our application form and a team member will reach out if we think it's a good fit. I'll see you in the next episode.